go where I want and I do what I want. My belt match the kicks. Don't you go bottom.
Man, Ink T to the G, man. Who you think it gonna be? The title of this video is going to be NYC calls an army after migrant gangs invade. Now, before we get in this video, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But if you're one of my day ones, leave a like and a comment like you always do. Now, before we waste any time, man, let's get in.
Concerns among residents and business owners here. They say they're losing their community. Former city councilman Hiram Montserrat wants Governor.
That's literally how San Francisco looks on 16th Mission Street, 24th, all the way down, because it looks exactly like this.
Kathy Hochul to send in the National Guard.
This is organized crime.
So an entire New York City neighborhood has been taken over by gangs, and there's nothing the city's able to do about it. Because even after several police raids of this formerly vibrant middle-class neighborhood, the levels of criminal activity here continue to soar. And that's why residents are demanding the governor step in and send in the troops.
I actually got to speak to a couple of community members. They say that organized crime has taken over this community. They demand the community be cleaned up immediately because walking down the street isn't safe anymore.
You want to live in this country. You want to get the American dream. And what you're doing is completely wrong. You're breaking the law.
Now they're in broad daylight. They're in front of schools. We have garbage. We have illegal vendors.
We say no.
You know, the craziest part about it is, this is so diabolical, right? I've literally been watching this. They will steal from these stores and literally stand with a blanket and all the stuff from the stores that they stole and sell it to people that are coming into the store to buy it for cheaper. And I ain't gonna lie, people are buying it because, well, it's hard times. It's a recession, a quiet recession, and who's not gonna want to buy it for cheaper? If you right now needed I don't know, let's say a speaker, and it was $50 in the store, but somebody got the same speaker in the box, not touched, and it's 20. It's gonna be hard to be ethical and hold on to your morals at that moment. Like, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys doing. Are y'all spending that whole 50, or are you guys spending that 20? But let's go.
More, and we're going to shut you down.
That's the promise from officers raiding this Roosevelt Avenue massage parlor.
2 days after, they reopened. And we came here last night. They were here.
The mayor said the flood of migrants coming to the city with little support systems contribute to the situation.
And, you know, police tell us that the migrant crisis has really made this problem so much worse. Not only is there increased gang activity, but also
this Trinidad Agua gang that originates in Venezuela has now made the United States their second home. This gang is now hidden in plain sight within the 1 million Venezuelans that have entered the country.
We're already in trouble because they
The Trinidad Agua gang, hopefully I said that right. I heard they have definitely taken over Chicago for surely. Not taken over, but dang near, like pretty close. And I want to say that New York, they're definitely making their way. They're definitely got their presence felt. I don't know about Ohio, but they did say Ohio. So that's crazy. Sacred says she's spending the 50. Tammy says, I'm getting it cheaper.
been here for a while, and they're involved in so many different crimes. You name the crime, they're going to be involved in it.
For months, crime in a middle-class part of New York has been allowed to surge to levels beyond anyone's control. But even though things here have gotten really bad over the last 2 years, what nobody's talking about is that this...
They said they got more brothels than bodegas. Do you understand how prolific that is for New York?
Never would have happened in the first place if we had laws that punished criminals, but we don't. And the growth of crime here is something critics say is headed to every neighborhood in town if things don't change. And if troops aren't sent in to get rid of these gangs. Because what we're witnessing in this part of town is the end game of every type of crime our leaders continue to defend as nonviolent and victimless. Like shoplifting, which we've decriminalized in this state and made a non-jailable misdemeanor, which allows repeat criminals to earn thousands taking whatever they want from any store in town and reselling it, which you'll see happening on Roosevelt Avenue on practically every street corner, with some open-air theft markets set up right by the stores those goods come out of. But that's far from the only type of crime taking place in that part of town 24 hours a day. Here you'll find everything from illegal food vendors operating restaurant-grade kitchens right on the sidewalk, to businesses that look legitimate but sell things they shouldn't and are part of a criminal economy that just keeps growing and growing. Which brings us to the real...
I ain't gonna hold you. Was those the LVs? Were those the LV sneakers?
They shouldn't and are part of a criminal...
Yeah, he got the LB Jones. Look, they got the LB Jones. Oh no. Oh no.
Economy that just keeps growing and growing. Which brings us to the real reason why residents are now demanding that troops come in and get rid of the criminal element in their neighborhood once and for all. The police have been trying to do this for over a year, but it hasn't been enough. Because after they raid a store or a business or a bunch of sidewalk shops, those vendors come back and reopen within hours of the police walking away. And as you're about to see, this system of constant, unrelenting crime is leading to the destruction of a middle-class neighborhood, which should be a warning and a wake-up call to the rest of this city and the rest of this country. But this raises a big question. Why is this such a problem in only one area of New York and not anywhere else? And why do certain parts of town like this look perfectly fine when we've got others near here where the residents wish they were living under martial law?
My theory on that is that they made all the migrant shelters in specific neighborhoods, and then they kicked out the migrants, and now they just stay in those neighborhoods. That's my theory. Let me know what you guys think.
So here we are in Midtown Manhattan, and you'll notice right over here we've got some police activity going on, but this part of town is completely different than another part of town, which is very close to here. And right away, there's an obvious reason for that. Look at all the police activity we've got going on right here. That shows you that in an area of town where you've got constant crime prevention, it's pretty hard for criminals to operate, right over here on the street corner, selling stuff they shouldn't. But in Jackson Heights, Queens, you won't find constant law enforcement and crime prevention. No, instead, you'll find constant criminal activity.
Former city councilman Hiram Montserrat wants Governor.
So they're saying the answer is they're just not policing that area. Checks out.
Kathy Hochul to send in the National Guard or state police to help clean up the area. He says it's plagued by criminal activity, including illegal vendors, and that's not all.
This is organized crime. This is cartels. These are organized gangs. They're street gangs.
So the residents of this neighborhood, they're protesting over the fact that their neighborhood, according to them, is getting swallowed up by a wave of lawlessness that is not going away. And now they want their neighborhood to be occupied by the National Guard or state police or something that is more than our regular police. And that's because they're claiming their local police departments are chronically understaffed and have been defunded. In fact, when you walk around this...
I'm not going to lie. That's twice Tammy done actually beat everybody to the punch on what was actually the main reason. She said this right before he did. Way before he did, I'm sorry. That's crazy. Tammy murdering it.
This part of town, the only police presence you'll see, if you see any at all, is going to be a light fixture that has the NYPD logo on the side of it. And this is an area that is just jam-packed with people. This is like downtown, so to speak, yet you don't have anything being done to keep the neighborhood safe. And the streets in this part of town, both sides of the street, are just covered with illegal vendors selling pretty much everything. You're going to see blankets with merchandise being displayed on top of it, merchandise which is most likely stolen. There are hundreds of food vendors all over the place. Local activists claim that most of them are unlicensed and shouldn't be there. Some even have what look like restaurant-grade kitchens with fryers. And the other thing you'll see are these vans that have their doors open, and inside you'll see what looks like a little store full of things you can buy. And if the police show up, they can just close the doors of their van and drive away, and their stolen merchandise won't get confiscated. And even though all of this is happening in public, there are no police anywhere, and that's because the police department's up there. They don't have the resources that we've got down here in Midtown, where you'll see a car with its lights on to convey a visible authority presence to the general public. In Queens, there is no authority presence, and that's why you have a massive criminal presence. It's the perfect place for gangs to just roll in and do whatever they want because no one's there to stop them, which hurts everyone. Local New Yorkers, law-abiding asylum seekers, nobody benefits from this except the criminal underworld. Yet the lawless environment happening in Queens mirrors another lawless environment that the National Guard was recently called in to deal with, and that would be our subway system, which was an absolute disaster, experiencing 6 felonies a day until 1,000 extra police and National Guard troops set up checkpoints and started cracking down. And now in Queens, we've got residents demanding the exact same type of response.
You walk by the girls and they offering business cards.
The rally was held just steps away from an illegal brothel on K Street, rated last.
I'm not gonna hold you. Business cards for a brothel is crazy.
Last month by the NYPD.
2 days after, they reopened. And we came here last night. They were here
So, in this part of town, when things go wrong, there's an immediate response from emergency medical personnel, from law enforcement. Nobody gets away with anything down here like they do in Queens. And that's because when there's a problem down here that requires a police response, they stick around to make sure that the work they did wasn't in vain. In this part of town, if the police shut down your business, they're going to be around tomorrow to make sure you don't try and reopen. But apparently in this part of Queens, once a business gets shut down, it reopens. They don't care. And the vendors on the sidewalks, well, they just wrap everything up and run away. If they're in a van, they close the doors of that van, drive away and drive back. Nothing stops them. And in many cases, they're just blatantly selling things right in front of some of the stores where those items were stolen. It's absolutely ridiculous, to be honest with you. I can't believe it's actually a real thing, but it is. And the other problem making this so much worse is that even if people are put in the back of a police car, our soft on crime laws typically release them, which means they can go right back to doing what they were doing when they got arrested. And according to local residents, there are so many illegal businesses, when one gets shut down, the others are still operating. They don't see any reason to close. And that just tempts the people that did get arrested to come back because they see their competitors are still open. But before we get into the gang-related aspects of this, it's important to understand that for many years, criminals of all backgrounds and nationalities have been making this part of New York City a nightmare for locals. It's just gotten a lot worse in the last couple of years. And we know this is the case because over the last year, police have been raiding and shutting down these illegal businesses. They've done it multiple times. The news cameras have been there to capture the whole thing, and it still looks just as bad today, maybe even worse than it did before raids that happened as early as just a couple of weeks ago.
And you know, police tell us that the migrant crisis has really made this problem so much worse here along busy Roosevelt Avenue. Not only is there increased gang activity, but also migrant women from other countries desperate to find a job.
We say no more.
So there are a couple of reasons why things here are just spiraling out of control. First, New York City, we've got an asylum crisis that's seen over 200,000 people come to New York, and many have been moved into city-run shelters by humanitarian care workers who have allowed people to believe that they were just steps away from achieving the American dream. They were going to live in a shelter for a couple of weeks and then be back up on their feet, no problem. But that hasn't been reality for many people. They can't get jobs. There aren't enough opportunities for many of the folks that are there, and now they're getting kicked out of these shelters. They're living in tents in many cases outside of the very facilities that they've been kicked out of. It's very sad. People are disillusioned. They've got nowhere else to go. But that problem is magnified by the fact that dangerous gangs are now coming here because we're a sanctuary city and taking advantage of these people. And not only do sanctuary policies allow members of gangs like Tren de Aragua to hang out in New York City while avoiding federal immigration enforcement, their presence here just makes things worse for the thousands of asylum seekers who are still here and are struggling, and in some cases are being coerced to join up with these gang members under threat of becoming their enemy. Now look, street vending, illegal businesses, it's all been going on in this part of Queens for quite some time, but according to the experts who really know about how this gang operates, they're so much more dangerous and so much more sophisticated than any of our local criminal groups that once they come to a place like New York, they just move in and they take things to another level. And it's a level our local police departments have no hope of stopping with the funding and resources they have. And when you have a gang that criminologists say is involved in every type of crime, once they discover a city that doesn't have laws that punish crime, you've got a recipe for disaster. And this is a disaster that could spread to other areas of the city, the state, and this country if something's not done about
T
it.
to the G, man. Who you think he gonna be? Now, this is a message for all my future and current MVPs. You know, my Mario Van peoples. This is a message going for our membership program. The first level of benefits get you a video to pick for me to do a reaction to once a month. Plus, you get 15% off all merch and exclusive access to the best videos on this channel. The level 2 membership gets you 50% off the merch. And you get to pick a video that I do a reaction to once a week and special shout outs during the streams. So a thank you in advance for my MVPs, my Mario Van peoples. Thank you for joining Ink T Gang, and the merch is coming soon. And like that, we go.
About it.
Oh, great.
So the big concern now is that this gang that's taken over one part of New York City is going to spread because nothing's being done to stop them in that neighborhood. They're able to gather their forces, make money, double down on all of their illegal activity. This could become a problem in other parts of the city. It could spread further than that. Hopefully it doesn't. But there are many who think it could, and this is a problem in other sanctuary cities, not just New York.
Sanctuary cities like Chicago, Denver, and New York City are a particular concern as experts fear that the gang could take advantage of local policies to expand their operations.
They go to those cities because they already have their associates there situated in those cities. So they just go to join them and further their criminal enterprise.
In New York.
So this isn't going to come as a surprise to some of you, but when a government creates a lawless environment, that environment is going to attract criminals, which is exactly what's happening here. And it only takes a very small number of criminals, as we're seeing, to have a massive effect. Remember, most asylum seekers are not here to commit any of this crime. But not only has this gang come here with the intention of growing, what they're doing is they're going on a massive recruiting spree, which includes telling people they meet here in America that, hey, we know your family back home in Venezuela. If you don't join us, something really bad could end up happening to you or to them. And because of the revolving door nature of our asylum crisis that takes people who are in city-run shelters and then evicts them, making them essentially homeless, these criminals, they've got a lot of potential recruits. But because New York City is a sanctuary city with a right to shelter, many of these criminals are benefiting from our city's safety net, and we don't even know it. And it's now been revealed that some of our shelters are harboring people who are in this gang. Weapons are being smuggled into these facilities, and these gangs are using those to control the entire atmosphere in some of these spots, making you wonder, how is this humanitarian system benefiting any of the people who are supposed to be in there getting their lives together? And with over 200 of these facilities in town, there's no telling how pervasive this gang problem actually is. It really could be system-wide at this point, and we have no way of knowing until something really bad happens. But this is only a problem in our city-run shelters because we've allowed it to be one by harboring criminals who are part of these dangerous gangs in the first place. If we didn't have laws in this city that banned police from checking someone's immigration status when they arrested them, a lot of these people who are out committing crimes right now would be hauled away by ICE, and they wouldn't be inside shelters afflicting other asylum seekers with their plans of continuing the crime that destroyed many of the countries people are fleeing right now.
In New York City, the gang turned violent quickly. In January, 2 members attacked police officers in Times Square. Authorities worry this is just a start, as the gang has been linked to robberies and
So these gang members, they started off the year with a bang when some of their members attacked police right here in Times Square. The whole world
did you guys see that? Well, here's short. Never mind. Here's short.
Saw that footage. The whole criminal underworld then realized that, hey, we can do this and get arrested and then get released, because that's what happened. With the majority of those criminals being released without any bail, then going on to get rearrested again for other crimes, which they were then released for. And this policy of releasing people who commit an offense for the first time, according to your criminal records in your city, that might be great for somebody who isn't part of a gang. That might be great for somebody who may have made the wrong choice once and intends to change. But gang members that have a criminal past, they love laws like this because they don't have any intention of changing. And policies like this allow them to do what they came here to do over and over again. So not only are they never going to run out of members once they recruit them, because oftentimes those people get released, they're also not running out of places to commit criminal activity, because we're allowing that to happen here as well. And the fact that residents are now demanding the troops be pulled out of our subway and put into their neighborhood to occupy it is a mess of our own making.
They need to pay attention to the community where Venezuelan migrants are living, because I guarantee you're going to have plenty of our gang members there who are also taking advantage of the citizens now.
You know, the worst thing about all of this is it's all happening because of policies that were designed to help people and aren't. Not only do we have local New Yorkers who now claim that they're losing their neighborhood, which is just getting worse week after week, month after month, year after year, it's hard to imagine how the people who are in the asylum crisis, who it's named after, how are they benefiting from coming to a country that's turning into the country that they fled? And it gets even worse, because a lot of this activity on that street, it's happening across the street from schools. And now you've got young kids who have to walk through a maze of crime just to learn about how they're supposed to have a better life by doing the right thing. Yet all around them, the only people they see succeeding are criminals. And this rampant gang activity, it's showing no signs of slowing down. But even so, the idea of moving the military into a residential neighborhood and having them set up checkpoints and crack down on this, I mean, how long are they going to have to stay there? Because as soon as they leave, these criminals are going to come back just like they do after the police do. This is a solution with no end in sight. And the military's not like local police, because it's the job of police to protect us while respecting our rights. That's what they're there for. They're not an occupying force that's supposed to win a war. And if the military has to have a full-time presence on our streets in this city, that means people are going to lose their rights, all because we won't fund our police departments like we do down here in Midtown to keep Midtown the way that it is. We won't do that in every neighborhood of town. Did you know that the NYPD only gets around 5% of the city's total budget, which is billions of dollars? Just 5%. But if you were to make that 6% or 7%, you'd probably have enough police to do a few foot patrols out there on Roosevelt Avenue. What do you think about that? Is lack of funding for our police departments the reason some neighborhoods just have a crime problem that is bigger than those police departments? Should the military come in, or is that too extreme? What do you think about that? Thank you so much.
Man, like I said, this is not just happening in California. It's happening drastically in New York, Chicago, and Ohio. I don't know what the solution is. Like I said, it's just a problem that is spreading, and it's not getting better. It's weird. Like, nobody's talking about it. Everybody's just acting like nothing's happening, but I guess that's how it is in America. We don't even care about what's happening in other states. I thought it was a shame how our government pretty much just ignored Florida after, what was it, Hurricane Helen, and then Milton right after, or something like that. Like, I just like to go outside of my comfort zone of comedy and things like that, just to go ahead and be more aware about what's on the world, because to be honest with you, the news don't really tell you much about what's going on truthfully. And 9 times out of 10, if you're going to see something truthful, is either Twitter or TikTok out of nowhere, which is crazy. If you made it this far, that means you put some paint where it ain't. And for that, you need to be thanked. So don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, share to be aware, keeping that algorithm. I need to be there, man. I know there's 10 other streamers out there doing it like me, but
Fuck that little 10. I'm maxed out.